Hi everyone, this is the story of my RX-7, how I bought it, how I end up here with this car, and probably half of you are watching this video just because of the Fitech EFI fuel injection, and if you're interested just in that part, you can jump on this time in the video, so you can just skip all the boring part where I'm telling you about the car. Let's go. I bought the car in 2013 from a guy that had 3 RX-7s, and he was selling them because he needed some money, and probably because, you know, 3 RX-7 is a little bit too much. And anyway, the car ran good, it did brake and handling good, so I wasn't that preoccupied about the car. It was the cheapest RX-7 in all Italy, or maybe even Europe. No, maybe Europe, not Europe, but for sure Italy. So I bought it, I brought it home with no problems. It was a long journey, but I had no problems. But in just few days, like a week later, there was a famous meeting. It's called Japanese car meeting in Italy, and it's probably the biggest meeting about Japanese car in general. So I thought it would be great to go with this car, even if I had it for just like less than a week. And that's what I did. I just cleaned the car, I washed it, I did few minor things, and I went there. And the meeting is like a half track day, half static meeting, and you can drive the car around the track. And I used that excuse to just do some extreme troubleshooting. So I tested it around the track to see if it overheated or it did had any handling problem, braking, something like that. And ran good. It did overheat a little bit because of the engine swap. So with the 13B, but with the 12A original radiator, it's a little bit too extreme, let's say. So after that, I brought it home. I started to work on it just to know more about it. So I just started to take off some, like the intake manifold or other electric stuff to see if there was any other things to do. So after taking off the intake manifold, I saw that the engine was the 6-port 13B, and I was really surprised about the fact that it had the 4-port intake manifold. So I was just using 4 ports of the 6 ports, and if you know about 13B's engines, you know that the 6-port has really small primary ports. So if you also start blocking the secondary port, you know that you are losing some power. So the first thing I did, of course, was to use a Dremel to open all the 6 ports on the intake manifold and put back all together and try the car again. It was running even faster and I was really happy about it. And the next thing I did was to modify the OMP, which is the oil pump that takes the oil from the engine and takes it to the burning chamber. Basically, it burns the oil like a premix and to have lubrication. And I modified the pump to just block off the oil intake from the engine and using instead an external tank using 2-stroke oil, like basically like running really running premix. So and that worked, but it pumps too much oil into the engine, and I didn't like it too much. So right now I'm just running no OMP and premix, 1% premix 2-stroke oil into the fuel tank. To solve the overheating problem, especially since it was summer, I swapped the mechanical fan with 2 electric fans from the Toyota MR2, I think first gen MR2, and that went well, no problems. Then I did a little experiment. I wanted to put a strut bar, not much for stability, but just for looks. I wanted the look of the Group B rally car, at least in the engine bay. So I wanted that strut bar, and I used the FC RX-7 strut bar modified to fit the first gen RX-7, and I realized that it was really not even working. It was too much flexible, that strut bar. So I reinforced it with carbon fiber, and now it's really rigid. I don't know if it's doing anything to the handling, because I don't know, I'm not driving that hard, but at least it looks really good. I never liked the position of the alternator in the 13B engine bay on top of the engine, so I relocated the alternator on the side of the engine instead of on top of it. Then I made a really common mod to the engine, which is the direct fire ignition. So of course the 13B has the lead-in and trailing spark plugs, and many people changed the coils and the igniters so they can use the direct fire on the lead-in plugs, basically running double sparks every cycle and leaving the single normal spark with the distributor on the trailing side. So I did that. First I used the original coils, adding just another Bosch coils similar to the original ones, and then I switched to the FC coils. I made a little box for the igniters with all the wiring, trying to be as clean as possible, and I really like the result. So while I was working on the car, I realized that the guy that engine swapped the car did a really bad job on the electrical system in general. So I had to do all the wiring from scratch. So it was really difficult to trace all the wiring, but basically I really did it from scratch. I wanted to do another time again because I want to improve some things, but I think it's not worth it. But really, it was a really demanding job. I had to label all the wires. It was a nightmare. I always liked the Resto mods, and I wanted to do something similar with this car, but I didn't want to change the look of the car too much. So one of the things I did is that I changed all the lights in the car, inside and outside, with LEDs. All the dash, instrumentation, braking lights, reverse lights, everything. I changed it with LEDs. And it's a subtle modification, but I think it's really nice. After that, I changed all the bushings under the car, all the linkage, everything with the polyurethane bushings, and I noticed a difference in the ride of the car. Nothing so dramatic. It's just little things. It was a really expensive mod though, so I don't know if I recommend it. I'm happy about it. Maybe it's a little bit more noisy, so I don't know. Of course I will never turn back. Everyone discusses about which are the best spark plugs for the RX-7, and I think in my case the best experience I had was with Iridium RX-8 spark plugs. I know they are the most expensive, but I never had a problem with them, and I had a lot of problems with other spark plugs. So just choose the best temperature rating for your engine, and you will be okay. Every car fanatics wants to change the wheels of the car at some point, and with the first gen RX-7 is a particular thing because there's no wheels for this car. It has a bolt pattern of 4 by 110, which is really rare. So the only wheels that you can buy are Mazda wheels. There is no other way. Of course you can order from Japan, you can do stuff like that, but if you're not doing that, you're stuck with the Mazda wheels. So that's what I did. I already had 2 sets of wheels, but they were 13 inches, and I wasn't happy about how they looked. So after a few years I found 14-inch wheels from the special edition RX-7, I think from 1983 probably, or 1984, I don't remember, and they were from USA, and basically I paid more for the shipping than for the actual item, but I had no choice. Once they came home, they were really in a bad shape, so I had to restore them, and I wanted the look of the classic polished lip and painted center, and that was really difficult to do that with those wheels because because of all the spokes, and it was really difficult to polish one thing and to keep the other thing clean. But I managed to do that. As you can see probably from the picture, I made like a little machine to do that, to help me do that, at least to save some time. I really like the end result. They look stock, but at the same time they look really nice. So finally, Fitech EFI. In 2016 I bought this kit just because I was really tired of all the classic problems that you have with the carburetors, cold starts, and one of the biggest problem was that I had the car sit down for many months at a time, and every time I had some problems when I went to start up the car again. Many of those times I had to restore the carburetor again and get it running, and it was really annoying. So I wanted to stop all that, and at the same time I didn't want to spend too much. I didn't want to spend like 2,000 euros or more to have a fuel injection. So I saw on the internet many people saying that they had problems with the Fitech, and then they had issues with the customer service, and you can imagine if you have those problems in America is one thing, but if you are on the other side of the world, in Italy, with a car that nobody knows about it, and it can really be disastrous. So of course I was worried, but I was at the same time I was also excited about doing something different that nobody had done before. So I jumped into it. I ordered it. I had to buy it from a European distributor in the UK, and that went okay, but it was a little bit more expensive than I expected because of course I had to pay all the importing taxes, and I had to buy also fuel pump, fuel filter, all the pipes and everything. And also I had to modify the fuel tank, because the fuel tank has to deliver all the fuel for the fuel pump, which is a high pressure pump. So I had to take off the fuel tank and cut it in half, put a new pipe inside it, a copper pipe, and weld it back together. It wasn't an easy thing, it wasn't cheap. I paid like 400 euros to do that. So the installation went almost flawlessly. I had just one smaller problem with the temperature sensor, because with the kit they give you a temperature sensor which is for American engines, so it wasn't fitting my engine. So I had to find another sensor which was the same rating, temperature rating, but they had the correct threads for my engine. So after I did that, I finally started to drive this car with the fuel injection, and then the problem started. I had many issues with it because it really didn't run good. It had lots of issues, and it was really difficult to have power. It wasn't reliable, and nothing worked. Really nothing worked. So I started to fool around with the configuration files and to find the perfect tuning. I tried to do data logging. I tried many things, but it was really difficult. I tried to contact the customer service, but I had basically the same experience that anyone has. You can search about it on YouTube. You can find many other people telling you all about it, but basically I really had a bad experience with the customer service, and being on the other side of the world, it was even more difficult because I didn't have the opportunity to call them. Everything was done by emails and everything was really slow. So after all these months, which by the way, one of them was translating all the software in Italian, because I really thought it looks cooler when you see it all in Italian. And I translated also all the units in metric units instead of the imperial ones. They give you the option to change it, but it doesn't work. It works only in the data logging. Then I finally, when the update came, I updated everything with the new software, and with it, it really runs better. I did all the mods again on the new software, but the new software is more powerful. It gives you more options. You can really fine-tune everything. So right now the car basically runs smooth all the time, and just few hiccups here and there, but nothing to worry about. I don't know if I would recommend to anyone with the first gen RX-7 to change it to the Fitech fuel injection. At least not with this particular model, which is the 4-barrel 400 horsepower rating kit, just because it's too big for the engine. It's not made for this kind of engine. With the rotary engine, you need more air for the same kind of power level. So usually you don't think in terms of normal motors in general. It's not like a 4-cylinder 150 horsepower. You have to think as a really bigger engine. So maybe the 2-barrel is too small and maybe the 4-barrel is too big. I don't know. But I would recommend it just if you really want to have the luxury of not to think about the cold starts. Maybe if you want to drive it every day and have something really reliable, maybe go for the 2-barrel if you have the 12A. But if you have the 13B, maybe bridge ported or ported in general, I don't know if I would recommend it, because the idle, the stability in general would not be great. It would really be difficult to fine-tune it. The biggest problem is the fuel atomization. So everything related to the atomization of the fuel. For example, if you stay a long times with a partial throttle and then you step on the throttle, you get basically you get a wet intake manifold, and the fuel sticks to the manifold and doesn't come into the engine. It's a really strange situation where you have a lean engine and the ECU tries to compensate with more fuel, and then you end up with a really rich fuel ratio, and it's really difficult to fine-tune that to not happen. And I almost managed to do that, but I need a really long time to test it under all temperature condition and weather condition to really cover all the situation. But let's see, for example, let's do a test. Right now I'm going really slow, 2000 RPMs, and I step on the gas. You can hear bugging the engine, and let's see the AFR. So now 3000 RPM, I'm at 15 AFR, let's step on the gas. Okay, I went to 17 fuel ratio, so that is not really good for the engine. But when you, let's say you want to race the engine, you want to go on the racetrack, during the driving on the racetrack you would not have any problems like that, because you're going full throttle all the time. And when you're driving normally, you usually don't step on the gas like this. You drive normally with a partial throttle. So it happens only when you drive like this, when you try to push the limit of the engine in this way. I think I said almost everything I had to say about it. And if you have any question, of course, leave them in the comment section. I will be happy to answer you, or maybe do a follow-up video about it. And let's drive some more. I will turn the camera to the windshield so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, here you can see the screen, which is really useful because you can show any data you want to see in real time. And right now I choose the AFR and the temperature. I put the temperature back again to the imperial system, to Fahrenheit, so because I thought many of you will be Americans. So let's see what happens if I step on the gas. Right now I step on the gas really slowly. Let's do it again. You can see it's not bad. Can be better, but it's probably better. Right now it's still better than a carburetor. But let's stay on a partial throttle for a little bit, and then we try to step on the gas. As you can see, it went to 20, 19 or something, and if I continue it will be stay the 10s or 11s for like a second or two, and then back again to the 12, 13 area. But in normal driving it doesn't happen that much, because as I said, it's not really common to do that. One solution could be working with the vacuum in general, try to find the best way, the best length, the best shape of the intake manifold. But it's still an expensive way to do that. Here you can, I don't know if you can see that, but I put a GPS speedometer so I can see the real speed of the car, because it's not really accurate. The original speedometer is not really accurate. It's overshooting by a lot. So if you're going on the highway, it's not really safe to use that. I went into the 10s for a little bit, and of course after a while when you're running full throttle, the exhaust manifold becomes really hot and the engine starts to do a lot of pops and flames from the exhaust. If you like a rotary engine, you probably know about it, because on Instagram you can see thousands and thousands of videos and pictures of flaming exhausts from rotary engines. forgot one important thing to say, which is that you have to monitor the exhaust temperature. So I bought a 4-channel thermometer and 2 high temperature sensors, so I can monitor each rotor, what they are doing, if they are firing properly, which one is firing properly, which not. You can do that with a classic gun, the classic infrared gun, but while you're driving, it's really hard to do that. You have to stop and then you have to check. Especially if you are alone, is not a really good thing to do. So with this thermometer, I can monitor in any moment the temperature of each rotor. And here you can see how I operate the thermometer and where I put it. Basically, I put it in the glove box of the dash. By the way, if you're interested, I'm filming this with the DJI Osmo Pocket camera. I had it for a week or so, and since then it's been great. I really like this camera, and I really hope it was a good investment. I hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, it will help me very much if you hit the like button. And if you need anything, if you want to ask anything about the car or my channel or the future videos, or you can ask me anything in the comment down below. See you next time.